All right, we're joined by Ben Kennedy, driver of the number 96 Jacob Chevrolet. Ben, you were fourth in your season debut at Talladega, and we're back here after a few weeks off. You ready to go?
Ready to go. I thought the off season was long. Those 2 weeks were pretty long for me as well. But just glad to be at the track and glad to be back with the GMS guys and Jeff Sinkowitz going to crew chief me and worked with him a little bit last year. So a little bit different from Talladega and as far as the people I'm working with and everything, but still driving a Chevy Camaro and got Jacob companies on board. So a lot of synergies from last year and came out here for the test and worked on it a little bit. So ready to get back out there.
All right, thanks, Ben. We'll open up the floor for questions.
Caleb Whistler, Speedway Digest. Ben, could you talk about kind of what the challenges are going from Richard Childress racing to GMS racing in the Xfinity Series?
At the end of the day, it's I don't know that it's a challenge, but it's just working with different people. You've got a group of people at RCR and a group of people at GMS and different obligations of both. It's kind of tough when, especially this week, people have fan days and you have competition meetings, you're getting ready for this race, and there's kind of stuff going on either sides of the spectrum. So it's definitely made my schedule busier, but at the same time, I was talking about this earlier with someone, is that we're running more races this year, so we get more seat time. So at the end of the day, I think it's going to help me on both sides of the spectrum. I'm running an RCR car or GMS car. I'm just running more races this year. So, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a balancing act, but I'm kind of used to that.
Jacob Seelman, Performance Motorsports Network. Ben, as far as making your debut here at Charlotte, does it help you having prior truck experience here when you're making your Xfinity debut?
Yeah, I definitely think it does. Running the past couple of truck races here certainly helps just for the sheer fact of, knowing this track, knowing where the bumps are, knowing what it's like coming to pit road, off pit road, all that stuff. You do drive these Xfinity cars so differently than the trucks, so and that really shocked me when we came out here to test. The line is completely different. You feel the bumps are a lot more exaggerated in the car, so all of that side is pretty new to me. But thankfully with technology and all that stuff nowadays, there's ways for me to simulate what it might be like going around a track in an Xfinity car. It's not ideal. I'm not in a car actually here, but basically in a virtual world. So that part's helped me quite a bit.
Is there anything, you mentioned it's a lot different, but is there anything that you could take that's similar from the truck to the Xfinity car?
Yeah, I mean, just racecraft in general, I think. Racecraft is, I think, pretty similar in all three series, between the side drafting and how aerodynamics work and restarts and all that stuff, and just your mindset going through the weekend. Obviously this is my second race back this year, so I'm kind of trying to knock the rust off a little bit and get up to speed with the segments and pit road strategies and kind of our whole thought process. And the cars are brand new to me as well, so I've got a bunch of ideas, and some of them maybe are credible, some of them deserve to go in the trash. Just because I don't really, know what I'm talking about, but at the same time, I feel like I've got a fresh perspective on this, and it's been really cool to learn, this weekend and working with Spencer and the tests and these guys, but also being able to work with those RCR guys and having a bunch of really good teammates over there. So I've gotten a lot out of these past 2 or 3 weeks.
Chris.
ChrisKnightGetchMass.com. Ben, how much benefit do you feel like that you can be to GMS as they continue to advance their Xfinity program, going from one car to two car?
Yeah, I mean, I hope to be a benefit. I know, and I think I kind of realize that I've got a lot to learn in this series. I've got a lot to learn about the cars. But at the same time, we kind of have the expectation we want to go out there and perform for me, our fans, and our partners, and kind of everyone involved. So I'm going to give it 100%. And I think this is kind of cool for GMS. They're running full-time with Spencer, having a second Xfinity car there, vice versa. We both kind of get notes and feedback to rely on. And I can lean on Spencer a little bit, ask him what he's feeling, and he can lean on me as well. So I hope it's beneficial.
Do we have any more questions? Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Sis.
All right. We're joined by the Monster Energy NASCAR All-Star Race winner, Kyle Busch, the driver of the number 18 M&M's red, white, and blue Toyota. Kyle, you could become the 8th driver to sweep the Charlotte race weekends this weekend. Your brother was the last one to do it. What would that mean to you?
It'd certainly mean a lot. You know, that's what we come to the racetrack to do, is try to win each and every weekend. But it's been a long, long time since I won at Charlotte, which was never in a Cup car. So finally we got that out of the way, and now we look forward to hopefully being able to make it back-to-back. So we'll see how it goes. You know, thought we had some speed there to fire off with practice. A lot of guys kind of caught up to us and got a lot faster. So we've got to gain a little bit more in order to be where we need to.
As part of the 600 miles of remembrance, you're going to have Private First Class William Johnson displayed on your car. Can you just talk about that tribute a little bit?
Yeah, it's a really neat deal that NASCAR and all of us are doing for you know, bringing the Troops to the Track program, obviously, that we have, but also the names on the cars. And my gentleman's from Oxford, North Carolina, so it's kind of a home game for their family, and just paying remembrance to him and what all he sacrificed for us, and being able to allow us to go out here and race each and every weekend, and to have a lot of fun. So Memorial Day weekend is just that, to remember those men and women both that did so much for our country.
All right, we're going to open it up for questions. We'll start with Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Kyle, did you get much up into the traction compound when you were out there? I think I heard some people talking about you were kind of doing some different arcs, or some other guys were too, also on 3 and 4. Did you get a sense of it? And kind of what's your thoughts about this compound being put on an asphalt track, first time for something like this after what we've seen at Bristol?
Yeah, it's I got into it a little bit there with 3 and 4, just kind of running up a little bit for coming to the green for some of our qualifying runs there. You know, we were only making 1 lap runs, so there wasn't a whole lot going on. And the track was really, really light to begin with. You know, they run the tire dragon around here, and it doesn't put the rubber down like it needs to, unfortunately. I don't know why the track is so light, but, you know, they need to put more pressure on that thing or something. I don't know. To get it blacker. It's just not very black, and it seems very dusty when we all rolled off this morning. So interesting there, but other than that, you know, the cars were starting to put the rubber down, and it was starting to get more black as practice progressed, but you get outside of that black just a little bit, and it seems pretty slick. So you know, we definitely just need to continue to make the track wider. I'm sure Xfinity cars will do that. I'm sure the Xfinity race will do that, and hopefully make it for a really good Sunday. I've only ever used the traction compound. It's probably not the same one, but years ago at my home track, they put it down in the outside groove to try to make an outside groove there, and it didn't really, it wasn't noticeable the first week that they did it, but it took a few weeks for it to kind of get wore in and kind of groomed a little bit, and then it was actually not bad. So I don't know if we can groom it that fast here in just 1 weekend, but we'll see.
Bob?
Bob Cockers, ESPN. NASCAR made some changes to the foot boxes of the cars for plate races and for all races next year in reaction to your accident. Was there anything that you saw in the Almirola accident that you felt like NASCAR needs to look at?
No, I don't know what happened there. I did hear Almirola, some of his comments, that he felt the first knife in his back when he hit. So that was just that was a slide, and he just hit like you would a wall or anything else, you know. And it wasn't like it was it didn't seem like it was a blunt stop, but I don't know. I don't have the crash data either. So, but I did see obviously how high the car got, and then how it slammed back down, and you could see the truck arm mounts really dig a chunk out of the racetrack, and I thought that's what hurt his back, was just the slam back down. But you know, it's interesting that we've seen some back injuries. They've been in various ways and in various seats, I'm sure. But you know, I think that how to fix that, I'm no doctor or practitioner or anything else, so it's going to be hard for me to distinguish how we fix that. But hopefully we can figure something out.
George?
Yeah, Kyle over here behind Bob. George Diaz, Orlando Sentinel. NASCAR announced those changes for the 2018 season. Kind of what's your big picture takeaway from that, and specifically address the road course scenario here coming up in Charlotte next year?
I think it's great. I think it's just a little bit of a mix-up, something to change it around, you know, and Honestly, you'd like to see some different venues on there. I think all of us would, but it's hard to get some of these venues that have been here in the past on the schedule, or some of them that aren't on the schedule, that are still in operation on the schedule with the sanctioning body and the sanctioning agreements and everything else. There's a lot of money involved in all that stuff. So there's also the guarantee of the races and the racetracks that are already on the schedule that won't take place till 19 or 20, I think. So overall, though, to kind of mix it up a little bit and not have us going, I can pretty much memorize the schedule where we're at right now, you know, so it's definitely going to throw me for a loop next year, not knowing where the hell we're going the following week. But all in all, it's going to be interesting to see the Brickyard being the cutoff race. I think that's going to be fun. You know, more times than not, the cutoff race isn't a huge decider. It kind of was, I feel like, years ago, especially when Mayfield was involved and he got that win at Richmond, and some other stuff kind of happened the next couple of years. But past that, you know, I like Richmond in the chase. I think that's a great place for us, so I'm partial to that. I think the Roval here at Charlotte is going to be interesting, and it's going to be different. You know, it's just a different take on Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm not sure what to expect. I haven't run it. I know AJ did, but you know, the setup and what it's going to take to get through the slow, small stuff that there's not a lot of load, not a lot of downforce over here in the short section is going to be entirely different than what you're going to need entering turn 3 at 165 miles an hour, you know. So it's going to be interesting to see what all people do with their setups and how you work on that, and you know, what kind of things you'll have to give up in order to be good in the infield section.
Hey, Kyle Rippinell from the Charlotte Observer. Carl Larson talked a little after the race last week about what he gave up in a pit stop. With it being harder to pass in anything but restarts, do you see an even greater emphasis on pit stop precision than you might have in the past?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's kind of been the name of the game probably the last 8-9 years or so, is pit stops have really taken focus and been the forefront. I know it has been for us at JGR. The guys at our place do an awesome job with training and the workout room, as well as the guys doing their pit stops and practice and stuff like that. So I know everybody takes a huge emphasis on that, but I feel like our guys have been one of the best. I know with some of the things that we've done with our tools that we use across the wall, obviously we've spent some resources on all that. And, you know, we've kind of been the leader in development, I feel like, with pit stops for the last probably 15 years. But besides that, you know, it's always an emphasis on restarts, because that's the time when you're closest to all your competitors. As you start to kind of get single filed out, spread out, it's harder to get or gain on the people in front of you. So you want to get all you can when you can, and use the momentum sometimes to take that spot from the guy in front of you. So restarts have always been really, really important, probably even a little bit more so than pit stops.
Woody came with MRN. Kyle, we saw the news about Red Horse closing its doors, and I was curious to get your feeling on how some competitive teams haven't been able to make the model work, while guys like you and Brad Keselowski have, and give younger drivers some opportunities. What are some of the challenges that you as an owner face there?
I don't know what Brad's scenario is. You'll have to ask him. I do believe that I have heard that he puts money in himself. I know that I put money in myself. So, you know, I wouldn't say that the model is working for us. I just think that we're content with the amount of money that we are spending. That makes it worth our while. There just aren't any big sponsors. There aren't any Fortune 500 companies, I think, besides M&M's, Mars with pedigree now, that's joining us with Todd Gilliland with pedigree to be on our truck. And it's just not, there's not enough people on TV, there's not enough people in the stands. The sponsorship just doesn't come, they just don't care. And that's the most frustrating part of it. So somehow we have to all continue as a group to lower our cost of racing. Our cost is 3.2, that's how much it takes to run a full operation of a truck team. And that number should be around 2. And how to get it lower, you know, there's some engine talks I know and some body talks I know, but you know, we're hitting it, but we're only hitting it about $500,000 by doing that, you know. So your biggest expense is your people, and you know, that's where it all comes from. But as far as our model goes, it does work right now, thanks to the support of Toyota, thanks to the support of the Gragsons with Switch, and the Myatt Snyders and the Bubba Wallace's sponsors and Eric Jones sponsors and the people like that we've had over the course of the years that we're able to make it all work. And to really make it work and to drive your cost down, you have to have 3 teams, and even 4 teams makes it even better, but we're not to the point yet where we're ready to grow because we still need to continue to develop our 3rd team and make it a strong force to be reckoned with each and every week. But once we get to 4 teams, people are mad at us because then, you know, we're too good, people can't beat us, whatever you want to say, and so people are mad that we're overtaking the sport, which all we're trying to do is continue to help and build it, but you know, there's a double-edged sword in anything that I do anyways, so we just keep working on it, keep trying, and make it work as best we can for us.
Kyle, Ben White, Lexington Dispatch. Kentucky Speedway and Indianapolis Motor Speedway sort of seem to have limited amounts of winners. In other words, you have to be really good to win both places. You're one of those people. Could you just talk about how special those tracks are to you personally?
Yeah, I think once you kind of figure out a place, you know, it seems to fit well with you, and if you can get everything figured out in practice and make your car strong there, then you're good in the race. And some years you're good and you're on, and other years you mess it up and something happens, you know. But I feel like Brad and myself, and Truex last year was actually really fast, but we've kind of distanced ourselves a little bit at Kentucky, especially with the repave. I liked it before the repave. I thought it was great being able to move all over the racetrack and having it as bumpy as it was. And you know, sometimes that jukes a driver out. It kind of scares a guy when the car bounces and gets sideways, you know, where for me, you just kind of drive through it and figure it out later. You know, a place like Indy, though, it's really, really smooth. You got to learn from the best there at that place. I learned it from Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Juan Montoya, actually, and just being able to pick up the points of which make those guys good there and utilizing those to your advantage. So last couple of years have been phenomenal for us there, and you know, hopefully that continues and we can continue to bring home some Brickyard 400 wins, because those are some cool ones to get.
Kyle, Jerry Jordan, kickingthetires.net, PRN. Coming into next week at Dover, you struggle, it seems like in the first race at Dover, and the second race you pick up and finish 2nd or 3rd or top 10 for the past 3 years. Is there something about that track going into it next week versus the second race is different, or is it just bad luck for you?
Well, the first race is typically just a race to go get all you can get, and don't worry about what happens. The second race is a chase race, so you got to be mindful of what happens. You know, I feel like we can finish 2nd, 3rd, or 4th there every time we go there. It doesn't matter, you know, but you always have that Jimmy Johnson fella that's really, really fast there that is really hard to beat. So I've always tried to probably overextend my reach a little bit to try to compete with him or to try to beat him, and it's hard to do. I think the last time I did beat him there was just because he had a faster car, but he sped on pit road in the final stop, and so I got the win on that one, you know. But Harvick's been really good there as of late, as well as Truex. Truex is fast, so that's why I say we're always 2nd to 4th. We're somewhere in there, just depending on how pit road things go and what happens in the long run. But we just can't overjump that hurdle of being better than the 48 car there for some reason.
Mike Nett from frontstretch.com. Kyle, you had a little bit of excitement off of turn 2, but didn't hit the wall. Larson actually did make contact. It looked like a couple other guys got a little out of shape on that exit as well. It's always been a little tricky, but is it a little extra tricky this weekend, and did the VHT have anything to do with that?
No, VHT didn't have anything to do with it. Actually, just the sun popping out for the little while that it did. You know, when we fired off today for practice, track was a little bit loose, and you could rotate around there a little bit better, but as the rubber went down and as the track slickened up and got a little bit hotter, I got tighter, and so I just washed up off the bottom really bad and was able to get it slowed down just in time. You know, it did have a little bit of effect just where you get outside, what rubber is laid down, and it's really sandy out there for some reason. I don't know why. With as much rain as been here, you wouldn't think there'd be anything there, but there's just a little fine grit that's out there, and when your tire hits it, it just takes off and slides worse. So that's why I mentioned earlier about getting the track to just get rubber down, burn off all that stuff, all that slickness, in order to make it to where you have some sort of grip all the way across the track.
Tom.
Hey Kyle, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Earlier in the session, you had 4 Toyotas in the top 6. You ended up with 4 in the top 9. Have you guys solved your mile-and-a-half issues, and you feel you're going to be good going forward?
I wouldn't say they're solved. I feel like Kansas was a good run for us for the 78, but the 78's been fast all year, so throw him to the side. It didn't seem like Denny or Matt or myself. I mean, I won a segment and I led some laps, but you know, Denny and myself, we were like 4th to 6th. You could have flipped us either way, and that's probably where we would have been. You know, Matt maybe a little bit farther behind, but here at Charlotte, it's kind of early to tell. You know, this place has developed a lot of character, and a lot more development needs to be in setup and the mechanical grip of the car. So we're working on that right now. I feel like we all really worked hard and studied hard this week about what we learned from the All-Star race, and we brought a better package here. And so that all helped us right away, and we'll see if that translates into race speed when we get back out there for race trim.
Hey Kyle, Phil Oben from WSOC in Charlotte. I'm wondering if a dozen races in, I get your opinion of the move to segment racing, and specifically with the 600 being such a mental grind, now dividing it into segments, what impact that'll have on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean the 600 race is certainly a mental grind. It's also a physical grind. I mean you just get tired. You know, I wouldn't say you fall out of the seat. It's just when you're done, you're done. You know. For me though, I think the segment racing this year has been pretty good. It kind of gives you a chance to take a breather, get a break a little bit. You know, sometimes I like the races to go into the long runs though. I think that's where I excel. I like green flag pit stops. That's where I excel. So, you know, we've kind of taken some of those things away from what I enjoy doing, but it's made for some exciting moments. You know, certainly there's been a lot more restarts. You know, less debris cautions. We have more standardized cautions. I feel like that's a good thing. Anytime you throw a caution that we all don't know is coming, that's very aggravating, whether you're about ready to go a lap down or whether you're the leader, you know. So to have those things that are known before the race starts, it just makes our jobs not easier, but less complicated.
We're going to go to Chris and then Dustin.
Chris Knight, Kitchens.com. Kyle, Kevin Harvick was adamant on his radio show this week that the Truck Series needed to find a way to go back to its grassroots, back to the short tracks like they did in 96, 97, 98. Being a Truck Series owner, do you agree with that model after the sanctioning agreements are done through 2020, or is it immediate cause concern, the structure of the Truck Series right now?
I would definitely enjoy that model of going back to those racetracks. Now, again, how you accomplish that and how you get that done, that's for people a hell of a lot smarter than me to figure out. But I would certainly enjoy seeing the Truck Series go back to you know, Tucson or even around here. Go to Motor Mile. Go to some of these short tracks that you can put, you know, 10, 15, 20,000 people in the stands for an exciting truck race. Because, in all honesty, I mean that's the crowd count that you're getting at a mile and a half anyways, you know. So pack the place, make it look good, and put on a good show for the fans, and go back to some of the roots of short track racing that these drivers are coming up from, that the trucks came from, and Friday night shows, Saturday night shows, whatever it might be at some of these cool short tracks. And I think you'll put on a great show. You'll have the fans come out and support that. It's just how to make the model work. You know, there's TV money involved, there's sanctioning agreements involved, there's all kinds of too much behind the scenes BS that I'm not smart enough to figure out, but hopefully somebody can be smart enough to figure it out. Maybe this guy can figure it out.
Would that be cheaper for you?
Would it be cheaper?
Cheaper
Hell,
for
ain't
the
nothing
teams?
cheaper.
I mean, it wouldn't be cheaper to go to short track racing for the trucks compared to Talladega, Daytona, or Kentucky?
Well, yeah, Talladega, Daytona, you might as well ride off a truck every time you go to one of those. So yeah, that expense is out. But you know, you go to a short track and you bump and bang and root and gouge and you beat the body up a little bit. You're gonna have to put a body on or a side on or something like that. But you know, you go to a mile and a half. Typically, you don't touch anything, so you don't have to do anything when you come back to the shop. You just get it ready, freshen it up, and get it back ready to go for another mile and a half. You know, but short track stuff, you're going to have to fix more body work, so it might be an added cost on that front. You know, tire sets, how they determine that, things like that are what's going to make it interesting. I don't know, for some reason we've stepped away from short track racing. Trucks used to go to South Boston when I was a kid. You know, they used to go to more short tracks when I was even running some of the races, and we've gone to more mile and a halves just to compare and be with the Cup Series more and more to get the fan count, because I guess we weren't getting the fan count then. So I don't know. You know, it's all about butts in the seats.
We're going to wrap it up with Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Just to continue on that is, I know you say nothing's cheaper, but if you go to smaller tracks, I'm guessing there's smaller sanctioning fees and everything's probably cut back to some degree. How might it work, or what would be some of the initial challenges? I know you say there's a lot of other smarter people to think about these things, but if you start thinking about the idea of maybe in a couple of years when the sanctioning agreements wind up and maybe this becomes a course of action, how do you start thinking about making this viable if it's smaller tracks, potentially, you know, same size crowd, but, you know, smaller sense to it in making it a financial aspect, as opposed to, you know, you're going to some smaller place, you're making less money, and you've got to cut back.
Well, you just said it right there. If we make less money, you're digging our grave. So the sanctioning agreements can't be for any less money, that's for sure. We actually need them to be for more. You know, in order to cut our costs, we have to be able to make more money or compete for more money to race for more winnings. You know, if you cut our winnings out, you might as well just say goodbye. So, you know, there's a problem in that fact right there too. So, you know, it's about trying to get the butts in the seats. That's what matters most. I mean, if South Boston packed the place every single time and made money, and NASCAR made money, the teams made money, and all of us would still be going there. So there's obviously something that was missing, and I don't know what that was. But to figure that out and to be able to pack some of these short tracks and to put some the trucks back on some of those standalone events, I mean, you know, it's all about exciting moments, exciting racing, having some rooting and gouging. It's probably worth having fights in the pits. I mean, that's what it all comes down to. And you know, we'll see if any of that happens. All right.
Thank you, Kyle. All right, now we're joined by Dale Earnhardt Jr., the driver of the number 88 Nationwide Patriotic Chevrolet. Dale, we heard you have private first-class McClamrock on your car this weekend. Can you tell us that story a little bit?
Yeah, it's a real honor to have him on the car. He's from Huntersville, and you know, it's real meaningful for all the drivers and the teams. We get to meet the family of the individual and you know, represent that person and their family throughout the race and the race weekend. There's a lot of it's just a great opportunity, I think, to to get to know one of these guys. You know, we often thank the troops and send them messages and you know, celebrate you know, the military in many different ways, but it's rare when you really select an individual that that you focus on. So you know, it's a great program that I think we have unique to our sport, and something I really enjoy seeing unfold throughout the weekend. And so we'll meet the family here this weekend. It'll be pretty exciting to talk to them, and hopefully, you know, I mean, all the drivers take a little bit of a responsibility to try to win the race and take that name to victory lane. So it's a little added pressure in a good way.
All right, now we're going to open it up. We're going to go to Daniel and then Kelly and Jess.
Daniel McFadden with NBC Sports. A few weeks ago at Kansas, you singled out the Coke 600 as the race you most wanted to check off your list before you retired. How much is that the history of this race, and also like how much of that is how this race ended in 2011 with you running out of gas coming out of turn 4? How much does that weigh on you since that night?
I couldn't have told you what year it was. It doesn't really weigh on me that much. It was tough to get over for a few weeks, but I believe Steve Letarte might still talk about it today. But a lot of things, a lot of water under the bridge since then. I grew up here and went to all the races here when I was a little kid. Some of the first memories of being at a 1.5-mile racetrack, that's here at Charlotte. So, you know, once I used to go to the dirt tracks with Dad when I was very small, but the first memories of being actually at a Cup event were here. And the Uries and the Earnhardt family would park up on the hill of the road course, about the tallest peak of the elevation there. And we had these plastic cars, Richard Petty and Kelly Yarborough, and we roll them down the hill of the road course and spend the whole weekend there watching Dad race it, Xfinity race and the Cup race. And so I've been coming here a long time, and I've never won a points race here. I thought, you know, considering we've had some decent success in the sport, I would have guessed I'd have got a win here in a points race at some point, but it just hasn't happened. You know, we've had some close ones, but you know, the way we ran out of the gate and as a rookie, we ran pretty good. We led a lot of laps that night and came up short on the victory, but I thought that this would be a good track for us. But since the repave, for whatever reason, it's really been tough for me. We just really haven't been able to hit on how to get around here, either how to set the car up or what I'm looking for or what I need to be doing with the car driving it. But we'll keep digging this weekend and see what we can make out of this weekend.
CrandallRacer.com. Dale, I was talking to Stevie Waltrip earlier this week, and she kind of chuckled and said, with you retiring, she's going to be out of a job when it comes to the Bible scriptures she's been giving you all these years. Do you remember when that started with her, and how much has that meant to you?
I'm not very superstitious, but there's a couple things that I have to do before the race starts, and I always really appreciate the MRO guys coming up to pray before we get in the car. And the scripture is taking the scripture and putting it in my car. I don't know, there's only been like one race where I think we didn't have it, and it's just a weird feeling. And she did that for Dad. I was really pleased and happy that she continued to do it for me. It meant as much to her, I think, as it meant to me. And she actually, I think she was the glue in the relationship between Dad and Daryl, and maybe she's the glue with the relationship between me and Daryl. I don't know that what kind of relationship me and Daryl would have without Stevie in the middle. So she's an incredible person, and I appreciate her looking after me, giving me the scriptures. She feels like she's sort of keeping us safe, and I can buy into that.
Jessica Ruffin with NASCAR.com. You said on your podcast earlier this week how different Charlotte is from other mile-and-a-half tracks. With you being shop mates with Jimmy Johnson, somebody who's so good here, how much have you and Greg worked with Chad and Jimmy this week to prepare?
A lot. We did. We totally 86'd all that stuff we ran last week, and we put in Jimmy's setup, and we just like him. So I was just asking Greg how we just like him if he run a flat and we run a 30 in practice, but Greg and Chad got real close this week, and me and Jimmy's been in communication, and Jimmy's come by the car a couple times in practice already and looking at notes and printing out our driver traces and trying to figure out whatever we can do to help me. That's one of the things about Jimmy that I've always thought was pretty cool, was he was always open to looking at other drivers' traces and adjusting how he drives. If he sees a guy go through the corner and does something different with the gas or the brake, he'll try it. And I think that, and he encourages, me or any other teammate to do the same thing. So he comes over with these printouts and says, this is what I'm doing with the gas, and this is what you're doing, and this is where the time's getting lost, and maybe try this and that and the other. And he's a super teammate. And so I'm lucky to be able to work in the same shop with him. He's certainly been an influence on my success and my enjoyment in the sport. But yeah, we're leaning on him pretty hard this weekend, considering how we ran and how they ran last weekend at All-Star Race. We're leaning on them pretty hard.
Hi, Dale. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. You, more than anybody, appreciates the history of this sport. What'd you think of the Hall of Fame class?
That's a great question. I was really pleased to see Mr. Yates get in. Ken Squire, nobody's called a better race since the 79 500. As many guys have tried and came close, but I still feel like that's the standard. I just was, Hornaday getting in, I thought that he deserves the credit, and certainly the Truck Series wouldn't be the Truck Series today without guys like him. So I really was, I was pleased with it. It's, I have a habit of looking at the drivers. I'll admit that, I look through the list of all-time winners and look at the ones that are in the Hall of Fame and look where my name is and see how many guys are in front of me and how many are probably going to get in. Will I ever get in? And all that good stuff. But it must be a tremendous emotional piece of relief and satisfaction to get that kind of reward. I watched really closely when Mark got going in there last year, and it just seemed to really validate all the work, even the stuff he did before he got to Cup. It really just kind of sealed it brought some closure, I guess, to his career. And it's got to feel the same way for these guys. But really emotional for Robert. You know, I think we all saw how his illness is affecting him. It's incredibly hard to see somebody so nice and such a big part of the sport go through that. So it's awesome to have the opportunity to celebrate him, and he's more than deserving.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Dale, in the practice session, how much did you get up in the upper groove into the attraction compound, and just your kind of thoughts about it being applied to an asphalt track since it's not happened, and was this like a desperate move type of thing after last weekend?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're going to run that road course next year, so that tells you how desperate they are. I got in it by accident. I got loose into 3 and ended up there. And they say it takes some heat to activate for it to really get grippy. You don't really sense it when you're up there today in it, but I'm sure in the race when guys get up there and start running through there, it's going to improve the speed in those grooves. Hopefully it does. You know, there was this track is just if you look at Kansas and you look at this track, and Kansas was repaved afterwards. Kansas is really aged well. It's very gray. We move all over the place looking for speed and grip. It's a lot of fun. Whatever, you know, this was the first track they paved with the new polymers. That new technology of using rubber polymers in the ratio, and boy, they must have really poured the coal to it, because it's like tire on tire. You know, it's just like so much grip. It doesn't even feel like asphalt. It's like hard rubber, you know, out there. And we just run right on the bottom, because that's just the fastest way. There's really no other way around it. But I'm really excited to see how this race runs later this season. That'll start in the afternoon. If we, when we get deep into that race, 250, 300 miles, that place is going to be slick. This track changed so much just in that little practice we ran. You saw guys starting to get in the fence there a little bit late in that practice. That track got slick right at the end. So running this race during the day is probably the best decision, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out for the track. I mean, we want the best for the racetrack, and I certainly think that's a good thing. So we'll see how that works out.
Jim?
Jim under motorsport.com. Kind of along the lines of practice, you seemed a little unhappy with how your practice went. I wondered if that was just a little disheartening after coming off the All-Star race, and if you kind of expected it to be a little bit better.
No, I didn't expect it to be. I didn't expect it to be anything, because we were so bad last week, and I didn't really have a reference as to how good we had made it throughout the week working in the shop. I started out not too good, but none of us, when we all went out there and saw all that, well, when I went out there and saw the rubber they put down and all that, the whole track looked completely different. So it took me about 3 or 4 runs just to kind of get the line back down and understand what I needed to do as a driver, regardless of what the setup in the car was. We finally got some decent speed out of it. We ran that 35 that put us 22nd, and we got on the splitter real bad in 1 and 2 to cost us 2 tenths down there. So if we get it right, we can get in the top 15. That's a start. That ain't good enough still, but that's progress compared to last week. And I'm really looking forward to getting in race trim. And we got some practice time. We really ran short last week on practice time. So I'm anxious to get in there and practice and see what we can do. We got a completely different setup, so please, hopefully it doesn't go like it did last week. It shouldn't, and let's hope it doesn't.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and PRN. Dale, you said as Kyle was walking away, you agree with him, but how integral is the Stepping Stone series, like the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, to bringing these guys up? And is there a point where it gets critical financially, where these guys may not have a place like that? And how do you do those cuts and make it affordable for you guys, because you aren't in the Truck Series right now, I don't think.
Yeah, we moved our truck team up to the Xfinity Series to make another team there, but I definitely I definitely miss, when I was in the series, we went to South Boston and places like that, and I miss watching those races, and they were great races. I don't know if the business model works to be able to go back and undo everything we've done, but I definitely think that I'd rather tune in and watch them run the beach or the fairgrounds. Man, I'd love to go run Xfinity race at the fairgrounds in our cars. I mean, that'd be at the top of my list if it was on the schedule. I run Richmond and Bristol. That's the only ones I'm running this year because that's the only short track action you can find. But the mile and a half just aren't that fun. We don't run enough. We run too many of them for it to be fun. We run, we rarely run the short tracks, so you try to get as much of that as you can. Not everybody's the same now. This is just me talking. I don't know if all the drivers like the short tracks that much, but I would certainly tune in. I'd tune in and watch them trucks run in South Boston or the beach or the fairgrounds. I'd rather tune in and watch them do that than a lot of these other tracks they run on.
Yeah, Dale, right up front here, George Diaz with the Orlando Sentinel. Obviously, next year you'll be in a different role in the sport, but what's your takeaway from the changes that they announced for the upcoming Cup season?
The schedule?
Yes.
I thought it was
And
good.
the track as well with the road course here.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a big fan of the Roval, but you got to be open-minded to it, because what if it does really do well? I anticipate it will be more spread out than what we see at Sears Point and the Glen. Once these cars come out of the road course and go onto the track, they're just going to distance from each other. And so I don't know really what a race like that's going to look like for stock cars. But they're going to try it. We got a lot of other racetracks that are Rovals as well, and if it happens to work, there's opportunities for them other tracks to do the same. As far as how they move the races around and stuff, that seemed to be all decent ideas there, and a little unfortunate for the New Hampshire folks because there's tons of race fans up there, a lot of diehard, short track modified racers and families up there that like to come to the Cup race, and it's unfortunate that they lose an event. But Vegas is certainly a great market for us, and one of the West Coast markets that works really well. So, and I think I like the Vegas racetrack. It's a fun mile and a half.
One more.
Seth Eggert, North Sports Tribune. Dale, last weekend, Lionel Racing, with your help and the fans' help, raised $60,000 for the Nationwide Children's Hospital. Can you talk a little bit about that and the gift they presented you?
Oh yeah, they gave me. We're helping the Nationwide Children's Hospital as often as we can, due to the relationship that I have with the Nationwide. They're heavily invested into that hospital, millions and millions and millions of dollars. They're certainly, they're right now currently doing some add-on and additional buildings and so forth that they're a big part of funding. Through their relationship, they've taken me over there, and I've really fallen in love with the place, and we love to go over there and visit the kids. They gave me the #1 serial number for I guess it's the best-selling diecast of all time, our race win version of the 2015 Daytona 500. So, was it 15? When was that? 14? Yeah. So, I guess they've never gave a diecast, a #1 serial number diecast to any other driver before. They keep them all in this room, and for whatever reason, they wanted to give me that. So I'll hang on to it forever. Pretty cool.
Thank you, Dale,
Thank
and
you.
best of luck on Sunday.